My father left my son $5 million on one condition. I took the test to spite him. I didn't cry at my father's funeral. That sounds harsh, I know, but you have to understand who Arthur Blackwood was. To the world, he was a brilliant real estate mogul, a philanthropist, a pillar of the community. To me, he was a controlling, paranoid tyrant who treated affection like a transaction. We hadn't spoken in 5 years. The last time I saw him alive was the day he tried to bribe me to leave my wife, Sarah. He called her a professional climber and a viper in cheap heels. I told him to go to hell, took my wife and my 7-year-old son, Leo, and walked out. I never looked back. I built a modest life as a high school history teacher. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Or so I thought. When the lawyer called to tell me the old man had died of a massive stroke, I felt nothing but a strange relief. The shadow was finally gone. "You need to come in for the reading of the will, Thomas," Mr. Sterling, his attorney of 30 years, said over the phone. "It concerns your son." I walked into the plush, mahogany-paneled office holding Sarah's hand. She was nervous. She hated Arthur as much as I did, but she squeezed my hand and whispered, "Do it for Leo. Maybe he left him something for college." Mr. Sterling sat behind his massive desk, looking at us with an expression I couldn't quite place. Pity? Apprehension? "Let's get straight to it," Sterling said, opening a leather folder. "Arthur liquidated most of his assets before he passed. The estate is valued at roughly $5.2 million. Sarah squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. $5 million? That was life-changing money. That was never-work-again money. However, Sterling continued, peering over his glasses, "Thomas, you are not the beneficiary. Arthur was disappointed in your life choices. He has bypassed you completely." I shrugged. I expected that. I don't want his money. "The sole beneficiary is your son, Leo. The entire estate is to be placed in a trust for Leo to be accessed when he turns 21. Until then, you and Sarah would receive a generous monthly stipend to manage his expenses." Sarah let out a small gasp. "Oh my God, Tom, this changes everything for Leo." I felt a lump in my throat. The old man had a heart after all. He loved his grandson. "There is a condition," Sterling interrupted, his voice dropping an octave. The room went silent. "The Bloodline Protection Clause," Sterling read from the document. "Arthur was adamant about this. The funds will only be transferred to the trust upon the successful completion of a court-admissible DNA paternity test confirming that Thomas Blackwood is the biological father of Leo Blackwood." I stood up so fast my chair fell over. "What?" I roared. "It's a standard clause he added to all his family trusts," Sterling lied smoothly, though we both knew it wasn't standard. It was a targeted attack. "He is dead!" I yelled, slamming my hand on the desk. "He is in the ground, and he is still trying to insult my wife. He thinks Leo isn't mine? Look at him! He has my eyes!" "Tom, please," Sarah whispered, pulling at my arm. She looked pale. "Let's just go. We don't need the money. It's an insult." "It is an insult," I agreed, turning to her. "It's the final slap in the face from a bitter old man." "If the test is refused, or if the results are negative, the entire estate will be donated to the feline rescue charity Cats of the Canyon. You have 30 days to comply." I looked at Sarah. She was trembling. "We're walking away," she said, her voice shaking. "I won't let him degrade us like this." I looked at her, and then I thought about Leo. I thought about his braces. I thought about the college tuition I couldn't afford. I thought about the rusted sedan we drove. And then a surge of spite hit me. "No," I said. Sarah looked at me. "What?" "We're not walking away," I said, my voice cold with anger toward my dead father.
He wants a test? Fine, I'll give him a test. I will prove that paranoid bastard wrong one last time. We are going to take his money and we are going to use it to live the life he hated. Tom, don't, Sarah pleaded, and there was real fear in her eyes. Please, it's not worth the dignity. It's $5 million, Sarah, and it's the truth. Why are you worried? We have nothing to hide. I looked at Sterling. Set it up. We'll do it. I want the results expedited. I want to piss on his grave with the confirmation letter. Sterling nodded slowly and pushed a buzzer on his desk. I have a nurse on standby in the next room. We can do the cheek swabs right now. Right now? Sarah squeaked. The sooner the better, I said, grabbing her hand. Let's get this over with. I was so blinded by my hatred for my father that I didn't notice how cold Sarah's hand had become. I didn't notice the sweat on her forehead. I was too busy enjoying the fantasy of winning the final argument against Arthur Blackwood. I walked into that medical room with my head held high, convinced I was the hero of this story. I had no idea I was walking directly into the trap that would end my life as I knew it.
The drive home from the lawyer's office was the quietest 40 minutes of my life. Usually, Sarah and I would be debriefing, venting, or maybe even laughing at the absurdity of my father's posthumous cruelty. But today, the air in our rusted Honda Civic was thick enough to choke on. Sarah stared out the passenger window, her arms crossed tight across her chest, creating a physical barrier between us. Sarah, I broke the silence, keeping my eyes on the road. Look, I know it was offensive. I know he did it to hurt you, but we have to be practical. She didn't turn her head. Practical? She whispered, her voice dripping with venom. Is that what you call it? You just let your dead father humiliate me. You let him question my fidelity, my honor, and my motherhood, and you agreed to it. You signed the paper, Tom. I signed it for Leo, I argued, gripping the steering wheel. It's $5 million, Sarah. Do you know what that means? No more student loans, no more mortgage. Leo goes to Harvard if he wants. We could travel, we could breathe. At what cost? She snapped, finally turning to look at me. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but there was a hardness in them I hadn't seen before. The cost is trust. You proved today that you care more about his money than you do about believing your wife. That is not fair, I shot back. I do believe you. That's why I took the test. I took it because I know the result will be positive. I took it to shove the proof in Mr. Sterling's face. I'm doing this to clear your name, not to question it. She laughed, a harsh, dry sound. You keep telling yourself that, but deep down, you wondered. Even for a second, you wondered. I did not. You did, or you would have walked away. She turned back to the window. I felt a knot of guilt in my stomach. Was she right? Did I secretly harbor a doubt? I searched my feelings. No, I was sure Leo was mine. He had my erratic sleep patterns. He had my terrible sense of humor. He was my boy. Sarah was just reacting to the trauma of being called a cheater by a man she hated. It was a reasonable reaction. I decided to give her space. Once the results came back, positive, obviously, she would calm down. We would be rich, and we would laugh about the old man's final failure. The next 3 days were a nightmare. Sarah went into what I call Cold War mode. She cooked dinner, but she didn't eat with us. She went to bed early. When I tried to touch her, she flinched. I can't, she said on the second night. I feel dirty, like I'm on trial. It's almost over, I promised, kissing her forehead. Sterling said the expedited results take 72 hours. By Friday, we'll be millionaires. She didn't answer. She just pulled the duvet up to her chin. I started to notice other things, too. Small things. She was cleaning the house aggressively, not just tidying, but purging. She packed away winter clothes. She organized documents. It felt like she was preparing for something, though I couldn't put my finger on what. On Thursday evening, I came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. The bottle was half empty. She rarely drank. Sarah? She looked up. Her eyes were glassy. Tom, she said softly, hypothetically, if the test was wrong, you know labs make mistakes, right?
False negatives happen all the time. I frowned, putting my keys on the counter. Sterling uses a forensic lab. It's the same one the state uses for criminal cases. It's 99.99% accurate. But there is that 0.01%, she pressed, her voice trembling slightly. If it comes back wrong, promise me we won't freak out. Promise me we will fight it. Promise me you won't let them take Leo's inheritance away because of a clerical error. Of course I'll fight it, I said, confused. Why are you so worried about a lab error? Because your father had connections, she muttered, taking a large gulp of wine. Who knows? Maybe he paid someone to switch the samples, even from the grave. He hated me enough to do it. For the first time, a cold sliver of fear pierced my confidence. Not fear that the lab would lie, but fear of why she was preparing the ground for a negative result. Sarah, I said slowly, is there anything you want to tell me? The glass halted halfway to her lips. The silence stretched for 5 seconds. No, she said, slamming the glass down. How dare you ask me that? See, you do doubt me. She stormed out of the room. Friday morning arrived. I was in the middle of teaching a lesson on the Industrial Revolution when my phone buzzed in my pocket. Caller ID, Sterling Law Office. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stepped out into the hallway. This is Thomas, I answered. Mr. Blackwood, the results are in. We need you to come to the office immediately. Did we pass? I asked, forcing a laugh. When do the funds transfer? Please come to the office, Thomas, and come alone. Alone? Why? Sarah needs to sign. Just you, Thomas. We will see you in 30 minutes. He hung up. I stood in the empty school hallway, staring at my phone. The tiles beneath my feet seemed to sway. Come alone. Lawyers don't ask you to come alone when you've just won $5 million. I felt a knot of nausea in my stomach. I didn't call Sarah. I didn't tell the principal I was leaving. I just walked out to my car and drove. I told myself it was a technicality. Maybe there was an issue with the trust structure. Maybe there were taxes to discuss before Sarah got involved. But deep down, in the place I refused to look, the seed my father planted was beginning to sprout. Mr. Sterling's office felt different this time. On Monday, it had smelled of old books and expensive polish. Today, it smelled like a hospital waiting room, like antiseptic and bad news. Sterling didn't stand up to shake my hand when I walked in. He stayed seated, his hands clasped on top of a manila folder in the center of his desk. He looked older than he had 3 days ago. "Sit down, Thomas," he said. It wasn't a request. I sat. My knees were shaking so bad I had to press my hands against them to stop the vibration. "Where is the check?" I asked. My voice sounded thin, foreign to my own ears. "Did you set up the trust?" Sterling didn't answer immediately. He looked at me with a profound, heavy sadness. It was the look a doctor gives you before telling you the cancer is terminal. "I need you to listen to me very carefully," Sterling said softly. "The lab results came back this morning. Because of the sensitive nature of the potential outcome, I had them run the sample a second time to be absolutely certain. They cross-referenced 16 genetic markers." "And?" I leaned forward. "Stop stalling, Sterling. Is he mine or not?" I asked it aggressively, expecting him to apologize for the delay and hand me the money. Sterling didn't speak. He simply rotated the manila folder and slid it across the mahogany desk toward me. "I'm sorry, Thomas." The world stopped spinning. The air left the room. I stared at the folder. For a moment, I couldn't touch it. Opening it felt like opening a bomb. I reached out, my fingers numb, and flipped the cover. It was a standard medical document. Lots of numbers, columns labeled allele A and allele B. I didn't understand the science. I scanned the page frantically, looking for the bottom line. There it was, in bold black ink. Combined Paternity Index, 0.00. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Conclusion: the alleged father, Thomas Blackwood, is excluded as the biological father of the child, Leo Blackwood. I read it, then I read it again.
then a third time. The words didn't make sense. Excluded. 0%. No, I whispered. I looked up at Sterling. This is wrong. You switched them. My father paid you to switch them. Thomas, Sterling said gently, I am an officer of the court. I oversaw the collection myself. The chain of custody was unbroken. There is no mistake. Scientifically, it is impossible for you to be that boy's father. But he looks like me, I shouted, standing up. He has my nose. He has my asthma. We have the same walk. He has Sarah's nose, Sterling corrected quietly. And you have been his father for 12 years. Of course he walks like you. He learned to walk by watching you. Mimicry isn't genetics, Thomas. It's love, but it's not biology. I collapsed back into the chair. I thought of Leo, my Leo, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the boy I held when he had nightmares, the boy's umbilical cord I cut. He wasn't mine. Every I love you, Dad, every Father's Day card, every memory, it was all built on a lie Sarah had told me every single day for 13 years. Who is he? I whispered, staring at the floor. Who is the father? The test doesn't tell us who the father is. It only tells us who the father isn't. I felt a physical pain in my chest, a sharp, tearing sensation. My father, my paranoid, hateful, bitter father, he was right. All those years he called Sarah a liar. All those years I defended her, cut him out of my life, denied him access to his grandson. I thought I was protecting my family from a monster, but the monster was sleeping in my bed. There is one more thing, Sterling said. He opened a drawer and pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope. It was sealed with red wax. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Sharp, jagged, aggressive script. Arthur Blackwood. Your father left instructions, Sterling said. This letter was to be destroyed if the test came back positive. In the event of a negative result, I was instructed to give it to you immediately. I took the envelope. It felt heavy. He knew, I said, my voice trembling with rage and grief. How did he know? Read it, Sterling said. He wanted you to know the truth, not just the biology, but the history. I broke the wax seal. My hands were shaking so violently I tore the paper. I pulled out a single sheet of stationery. It was dated 2 weeks before he died. Thomas, if you are reading this, it means the test came back negative. It means you are hurting. It means you hate me right now for being right. I don't take pleasure in this "I told you so." No father wants to see his son played for a fool. You called me paranoid. You called me cruel. But I'm a businessman, son. I noticed details. I noticed the dates didn't add up when she announced the pregnancy. I noticed how she looked at the tennis instructor at the club, that hack, Greg. Yes, I checked. He has type B blood. You and Sarah are A and O. Do the math. I hired a PI 10 years ago. I have photos, Thomas. I didn't show you because you were so happy. You were so in love with the lie, I couldn't bring myself to break your heart while I was alive. I was a coward, but I won't let my legacy go to a stranger's bastard. I won't let her win. Here is the deal. The money is gone from the boy. The trust is void. However, there is a secondary clause. Check Section 4, Paragraph B. The entire estate, the full $5.2 million, transfers directly to you, Thomas, tax-free. But there is a condition. You must divorce her. You must leave her with nothing. You must eviscerate her in court. If you take her back, if you forgive her, the money goes to the cats. Be a man, Thomas. Stop being a victim. Dad. I lowered the letter. My tears were streaming down my face. Not tears of sadness. Tears of pure, unadulterated fury. I had lost a son, but I had gained a war. I looked up at Sterling. Section 4, Paragraph B, I said, my voice ice cold. Is it legally binding? It is, Sterling nodded.
If you file for divorce on the grounds of paternity fraud and adultery within 30 days, the assets transfer to you immediately." I stood up. I folded the lab report and the letter and put them in my pocket. "Do it," I said. "Thomas," Sterling warned, "think about this. You are about to go home and destroy your life." My life was destroyed the moment I signed that birth certificate. Now, I'm just cleaning up the wreckage. I walked out of the office. I didn't go to the bar. I didn't go to a hotel. I got in my car and drove home. It was 4 p.m. Sarah would be in the kitchen. Leo would be at soccer practice. Perfect. I wanted her alone.
I pulled into the driveway. The house looked painfully normal. Leo's basketball hoop was in the driveway. His bike was thrown carelessly on the lawn. I had told him 1,000 times to put it away. But today, seeing it there just made my chest ache. It was a ghost of a life that no longer existed. I walked to the front door. I checked my reflection in the glass. I looked calm, pale but calm. It was the calm of a man who has already died and is just walking around out of habit. I opened the door. "Tom, you're back!" Sarah came running from the kitchen. She was wearing her best dress. Her hair was done. And on the dining table, visible behind her, was a bottle of Dom Perignon in a silver ice bucket. She had bought champagne. She was celebrating. She was so confident in her lie, or so delusional, that she was ready to toast to the $5 million she had just stolen from my father. "Well," she beamed, grabbing my hands. Her palms were sweaty. "Did Sterling give you the check? Did he set up the trust? Tell me." I looked at her hands. I looked at the ring on her finger, a ring I worked 2 jobs to buy. I pulled my hands away, gently. "Sit down, Sarah." Her smile faltered. "What? Why? Is there a problem with the taxes?" "Sit down." The command in my voice was foreign. It wasn't the voice of the husband she knew. It was the voice of Arthur Blackwood. She sat on the edge of the dining chair, her hands clutching her dress. "You're scaring me, Tom." I reached into my jacket pocket. I pulled out the folded lab report. I didn't throw it. I didn't slam it. I placed it gently on the table, right next to the champagne bucket. "Read it." She reached for it. Her hand shook so much the paper rattled. She opened it. I watched her eyes. I watched them scan the header, then the name, then the result. I watched her color drain from her face instantly, leaving her skin the color of old ash. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She froze. "This," she whispered, "this is impossible." "Is it?" I asked, leaning against the wall. "It's a mistake," she said, her voice rising to a panic. "Tom, look at me. It's a mistake. Labs mix things up. Your father paid them to fake this." "Stop," I said. "Just stop." I pulled the second envelope from my pocket, the letter from my father. "He didn't pay them to fake it, Sarah. He paid a private investigator 12 years ago to prove it." I dropped the letter in front of her. He knew about Greg. The name hit her like a physical blow. She flinched. The innocent wife mask shattered, revealing the terrified stranger underneath. "Greg?" she choked out. "The tennis instructor, the one you were just friends with during our break before the wedding. My father saw you. He had photos. He knew Leo wasn't mine before Leo was even born." Silence descended on the room. The refrigerator hummed. The champagne ice melted. Sarah slumped in the chair. She covered her face with her hands. "I didn't know. I swear to God, Tom, I didn't know for sure. It was one time, one mistake. I prayed he was yours. And when he was born and he looked like you, I convinced myself he was. I loved you so much, I couldn't lose you." "You didn't love me," I said coldly. "You loved the safety. You loved the stability. And you let me raise another man's son for 12 years. You let me bond with him. You let me build my whole life around a lie." "He is your son," she screamed, looking up.
Biology doesn't matter. You raised him. You are his father. That paper doesn't change 12 years of love." "The money changes it," I said. She stopped crying. The gears in her head turned. The greed surfaced through the tears. The money?" She wiped her eyes. Does the trust still stand? If you adopt him? We can fight this, Tom. We can sue the estate. If we stay together, we can prove you are the psychological father." I laughed. It was a dark, hollow sound. "You don't still get it. You're thinking about the $5 million. It's for Leo," she insisted. "No," I corrected. "Leo gets nothing. The trust is void. The money for the grandson is gone. My father made sure of that." I leaned closer to her. "But there is a backup clause." To you? Oh, thank God. So we still have it. Tom, we can use this money to start over. We can go to therapy. We can move. We can fix this." She stood up and reached for me. I took a step back. "There's a condition, Sarah." "What condition?" "I only get the money if I divorce you. I only get the money if I leave you with absolutely nothing." She froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "He is dead, and he is still smarter than both of us. He knew you would try to manipulate me, so he made it a choice. I can have you, a liar and a cheater, and poverty. Or I can have $5 million and a fresh start." You wouldn't," she stammered. "You love me. We're a family." "I love the woman I thought you were. I don't know who you are, and frankly, I don't want to know." I looked at the clock. 4:30 p.m. "Leo will be home in 20 minutes. Don't you dare tell him," she hissed, her eyes narrowing. "He's a child. It will destroy him." "I won't tell him today. I'm not cruel, but I am leaving. I'm going to a hotel. I'll be back tomorrow with my lawyer to discuss the timeline of you moving out." "Moving out?" she shrieked. "This is my house." "I paid the mortgage, Sarah. My name is on the deed. And with the lawyer I'm about to hire, you won't even get the silverware." I turned to leave. "If you walk out that door," she screamed at my back, desperate now, "you're abandoning your son. You're a monster." I stopped at the door. I looked back at the champagne. "I'm not the monster, Sarah. I'm just the guy who finally read the instructions." I walked out. As I got into my car, I saw Leo riding his bike down the street heading home. He waved at me, a big, happy wave. "Hey, Dad," he yelled. I waved back. I forced a smile. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I started the engine and drove away before he could see me cry.
I spent the night at a Motel 6. I couldn't stomach a luxury hotel, not yet. At 9 a.m. sharp, I called Sterling. "Execute Section 4, Paragraph B," I said into the phone. "I want to file for divorce. Grounds, adultery and paternity fraud." "I have the papers drafted," Sterling replied. "I also took the liberty of freezing the joint accounts. She won't be able to drain them." "Good. What about Leo?" "That is the complicated part, Thomas. Legally, you are the presumptive father. You are on the birth certificate. Until a judge rules otherwise, you are responsible for him, and she knows that." She did know that. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Message: "Leo is crying. He wants to know why you didn't come home. I told him you're having a midlife crisis. If you want to see him, bring a check for $5,000. We have bills." She was holding him hostage. She was using my love for a child that wasn't mine to extort money she had lost. I stared at the phone. My father's voice echoed in my head. "Stop being a victim, Thomas." If I wanted to win this, I couldn't just play defense. I had to nuke her position. I needed to prove that someone else was responsible for that boy. I needed Greg. I opened the dossier my father had left. The private investigator's report was 12 years old, but it had a name: Gregory P. Sloan. I Googled him. It wasn't hard to find him. Gregory Sloan wasn't a tennis instructor anymore.
He was the owner of a chain of luxury car dealerships in the next county. Married, 3 kids, a pillar of the community. He had everything to lose. I drove to his dealership an hour later. I walked past the gleaming Porsches and BMWs. I marched right up to the receptionist. "I'm here to see Greg Sloan. Tell him it's about Sarah Jenkins," Sarah's maiden name. 5 minutes later, I was ushered into a glass-walled office. Greg looked older, heavier, but I recognized the chin. I recognized the nose. It was the face I saw across the breakfast table every morning. It was Leo's face. "Can I help you?" Greg asked, looking annoyed. "I'm having a meeting in 10 minutes. I sat down without being asked. "You knew Sarah Jenkins in 2011, the country club. You were her instructor." Greg's face tightened. "I taught a lot of people. Look, if you're selling insurance, I'm her husband," I interrupted. Well, soon-to-be ex-husband. I tossed a photo onto his desk. It was a picture of Leo from last year's school portrait. "Who is that?" Greg asked, frowning. "That is Leo. He is 12 years old. He loves soccer. He has asthma, and he's allergic to peanuts." I leaned forward. "And he is your son." Craig laughed. It was a nervous, shaky laugh. "You're crazy. Get out of my office." "I took a DNA test yesterday. 0% matched to me. Sarah confessed. She got pregnant the summer she was taking lessons from you. She pinned it on me because I was the safe bet. But now I'm done paying for your fun." Greg stood up, his face pale. "I have a family. I have a reputation. You can't just walk in here and—" "I have the PI photos from 2011. I lied. I only had photos of them talking, but he didn't know that. "And I have Sarah's confession. Here is the deal, Greg. I'm filing for divorce. I'm disestablishing paternity. I need a biological father to point the finger at so the court doesn't stick me with child support for a kid that isn't mine." "I won't do it," he hissed. "Then I will subpoena you," I said, standing up, "and I will name you in the public court filings, and I will send a copy of the paternity suit to your wife. Or you can volunteer a DNA sample quietly. We handle this in sealed arbitration, and you settle with Sarah directly." He looked at me with pure hatred, but he was trapped. "Fine," he whispered. "I'll take the damn test, but if this gets out, I will sue you for slander." "It's not slander if it's true, Greg." I walked out of the dealership. I felt sick. I felt like a gangster, but I had the leverage I needed. That afternoon, I went to the school. I knew Sarah would try to block me, so I went to the soccer field during practice. I saw Leo running drills. He looked so small, so innocent. He saw me and jogged over to the sideline. "Dad!" He was sweating, smiling. "Coach said I'm starting on Saturday. Are you coming?" I looked at him. This boy who wasn't my blood, but who was my heart. This was the hardest moment. Harder than the lawyer. Harder than Sarah. "Leo, hey." I kneeled down so I was eye level with him. "Dad, what's wrong? Mom said you were mad at her." "Buddy," I choked out. "Mom and I are going through a really tough time. Adults make mistakes, big mistakes." "Are you getting divorced?" he asked, his voice cracked. He was smart, he knew. "I have to go away for a while," I said, dodging the word. "I'm staying at a hotel, but I need you to know something. No matter what happens, no matter what Mom says or what you hear, I love you. You are the best thing that ever happened to me." "But why are you leaving?" Tears welled up in his eyes. "Is it my fault?" "No." I grabbed his shoulders. "No, Leo, never think that. This is between me and Mom. You are perfect." I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't tell him, "Your real dad sells BMWs and wants nothing to do with you." I couldn't tell him, "Mom stole 12 years of my life." I had to let him think I was just a jerk leaving his mom. I had to take the hit to protect him from the biology. "I have to go, buddy." I stood up, wiping my own eyes. "I'll call you, I promise." "Leo, Dad, wait!" he called out, but I turned and walked away. I walked fast because if I stopped, I'd never leave, and if I didn't leave, I would lose the inheritance, lose the war, and let Sarah win. As I got to my car, my phone buzzed. It was Sterling. Greg Sloan just called my office. He's lawyering up, but he agreed to the test. You did it, Thomas. You cornered them both. I sat in the car and screamed. I screamed until my throat bled. I had won the war, but I had just orphaned my son.
The divorce mediation took place 3 weeks later in a conference room with a view of the city skyline. It was a crowded room. There was me and Mr. Sterling. There was Sarah and her lawyer, a cheap shark she had hired on a contingency basis. And there was Greg Sloan's lawyer, looking sweaty and uncomfortable. Sarah looked terrible. The champagne celebration version of her was gone. She looked tired, angry, and scared. She refused to look at me. "Let's make this simple," Sterling started, placing a document on the table. "We have the results from the secondary test. Gregory Sloan is a 99.99% match for Leo. Paternity is no longer a question. It is a fact." Sarah's lawyer cleared his throat. "My client maintains that Thomas Blackwood has acted in loco parentis for 12 years. Regardless of biology, he is the psychological father. We are seeking full spousal support, 50% of the marital assets, and child support based on his expected inheritance." Sterling smiled. It was the smile of a predator. "Actually," Sterling said, sliding the copy of my father's will across the table, "the inheritance is conditional. Thomas only receives the funds after the dissolution of the marriage is finalized on grounds of fraud. Until then, Thomas is technically broke. His teacher's salary barely covers his rent at the Motel 6. If you want half of his assets, you can have half of his 2014 Honda Civic and half of his credit card debt." Sarah's eyes widened. She looked at her lawyer. Her lawyer looked at the will, reading the fine print. His face fell. This is airtight," he muttered. "If he stays married to her, the money goes to the charity. If he divorces her, the money is his separate property, acquired after separation." "Exactly," I spoke up for the first time. "So, Sarah, here is your choice. You can drag this out. We can go to trial. I will put Greg on the stand. I will put you on the stand. I will show the jury the photos. And at the end of the day, I will still be broke until the judge bangs the gavel. You will get nothing from me." I pointed to Greg's lawyer. "But he has money. Greg is the biological father. If you want child support, sue him." Greg's lawyer jumped in. "Mr. Sloan would prefer to settle this quietly. He is prepared to offer a lump sum to Mrs. Jenkins to keep this out of the public record and to waive parental rights." Sarah looked between me and the lawyer. She realized the trap. I was the one who loved Leo but had no money yet and was leaving. Greg had money but didn't want Leo. "You're abandoning him," she whispered to me, tears streaming down her face. "You're selling your son for $5 million. "No," I said, my voice steady. "I'm freeing myself from a fraud. You sold him, Sarah. You sold him 12 years ago when you lied to my face." The settlement. The papers were signed that afternoon. I granted Sarah a quick divorce. I kept the house. My father bought it technically, but I let her stay there for 30 days. She accepted a settlement from Greg, hush money, essentially. It was enough to keep her afloat, but it wasn't millions. Greg kept his secret, mostly, and I got the check. 2 days later, Mr. Sterling handed me a cashier's check for $5.2 million, tax-free. I held it in my hand. It was a piece of paper. It didn't feel heavy. It didn't feel warm. It felt cold. "Your father would be proud," Sterling said. "My father was a son of a bitch, but he was an honest one." 6 months later. I didn't buy a Ferrari. I didn't go to Ibiza. I bought a small cabin by a lake 3 hours away. I quit my teaching job. I spent my days fishing and reading. The silence was healing, but it was also lonely. I missed Leo every single day.
The ache of losing him was worse than the anger at Sarah. One afternoon, I sat down and wrote a letter to Mr. Sterling. I set up a new trust fund, an irrevocable trust. I put $2 million into it. The beneficiary was Leo Jenkins. Sarah had changed his name back out of spite. The conditions were simple. It was for his education, college, grad school, whatever he wanted. But there was one rule. He could never know it came from me. If Sarah knew I paid, she would try to claw her way back in. She would use him as a pawn again. So, officially, the money came from an anonymous grant. The graveyard. On the 1-year anniversary of my father's death, I visited his grave. It was a gray, rainy day. The marble headstone was cold and imposing, just like him, Arthur Blackwood, husband, father. I stood there for a long time, holding an umbrella. I had the money, I had the truth, I had my dignity, as he called it, but I had lost the only thing that made me feel like a good man. "You won, old man," I said to the stone. "You were right about her. You were right about the blood." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a photo. It was the one I took from Greg's office, Leo's school picture. I placed it on the gravestone. "But you were wrong on one thing," I whispered. "Blood isn't everything. He was a good kid, and he deserved better than all of us." I turned around and walked back to my car. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. I opened it. It was Leo. He was wearing a soccer jersey. He looked a little taller, a little older. He was holding a trophy. Underneath, the text read, "Mom is asleep. I found your number in her old phone. I scored a goal today. I did the celebration you taught me. Miss you, Dad." I typed back, "Great job, kiddo. Keep playing." I blocked the number. Then I threw the phone onto the passenger seat and drove into the rain, a millionaire with nothing but the truth to keep me warm.